Hi, this is Ajay Anand and welcome to science classes from excelup.com. In this lesson, you will learn the solution of NCERT exercise questions from the chapter Heredity and Evolution, and these questions have been taken from the book of science from class 10th. So let us begin with the first question. Question 1. A Mendelian experiment consisted of breeding tall plants bearing violet flowers with short pea plants bearing white flowers. The progeny all bore violet flowers, but almost half of them were short. This suggests that the genetic makeup of the tall parent can be depicted as, there are four options. Number A is TTWW and all are capital. B is TT, these are capital and small w's. Then C is a capital T followed by small t followed by capital W's, and the D option is capital T, small t, capital W and small w. So one of the parent plants is tall and has violet flowers, and another plant is a short plant and it is bearing white flowers. So in case of this option, that is option A, all the plants in F1 generation, they will be tall and they will bearing violet flowers, because here the capital letters, they suggest that tallness and violet colors, they are dominant colors. In this case, all plants will be tall, and because here all the genes, they are for white flowers, so all the plants, they will bear white flowers. So these two cannot be the answers. The correct answer will be this one, C, that is T followed by small t, then two capital W's. Let us try to understand how does this happen. So I have made a Punnett square to describe the things. So these are the genotypes of parents. So this is T, capital T, small t and capital W as given in the option C, and this genotype is for short plant producing white flowers, so all are small, TTWW. So this plant, this will make four types of gamete. So the genotype of these gametes, they will be TW, all capitals, then these two will be in small letters, that is TW. And in this case, all the gametes formed, they will have small t and small w. Okay. So now after fertilization, the zygote will be formed, and the zygote will have these genetic makeups. So you can see that 50%, half of these, their genotype is same, and genotype these 50% is same. Okay. So this is T, capital T, small t, capital W, small w. Since tallness and violet color, they are dominant characters, so all these plants, they will be tall plants producing violet flowers. In this case, the genotype is small t, capital W and small w for all of them. So they will be short plants, and since violet color is dominant, so they will bear violet flowers. So the question says that 50% of the plants, they are tall and rest 50% are short plants, and all of them they bore violet flowers, and that is why the correct answer will be option C, that is capital T, small t, capital W and capital W. Question 2. An example of homologous organs is option A are arms and a dog's foreleg, are teeth and elephant's tusks, potato and runners of grass. So our arm and a dog's foreleg, they have same basic design, same set of bones are there. So these are homologous organs. Teeth of human beings and the tusk of elephants, although they serve different purposes, but they have similar origins. Similarly, potato and runners of grass, they are modifications of stem. All of them, they are stem, and that is why the correct answer will be option D, that is all of the above. Question 3. In evolutionary terms, we have more in common with option A Chinese or an African or a British schoolboy, option B a chimpanzee, option C a spider, and option D a bacterium. Since a human beings, whether he is an African or a Chinese or British or an American or an Indian, all of them, they belong to the same species. So in evolutionary terms, the members of the species, they have the maximum number of common characters, and that is why the correct answer is option A. Question 4. A study found that children with light colored eyes are likely to have parents with light colored eyes. On this basis, can we say anything about whether the light eye color trait is dominant or recessive? Why or why not? The answer is no, because in order to say whether a particular character is dominant or recessive, we need to have data of at least 3 generations, and where here we have data for 2 generations only. So it's not possible to tell whether the light color is a dominant trait or a recessive trait. Question 5. How are areas of study, evolution and classification interlinked? The answer is that the modern classification is also called phylogenetic classification, and it is based on evolution. Okay, so the lower phylum is less advanced compared to the higher phylum. So as we go up in terms of phylum or division in case of plant kingdom, we get to see more complexities, and that is why we can say that evolution and classification, they are interlinked. So you can take example, say for example, let us take Arthropoda, the animals which have joint appendages like cockroaches or spider. Okay, so they have exoskeleton and more simple design compared to vertebrata, because human beings or frogs, all of them, they come under vertebrata, and vertebrata, they have vertebral column in their body which is absent in Arthropoda. So in terms of complexity, vertebrata is more evolved compared to Arthropoda. Question 6. Explain the terms analogous and homologous organs with examples. Organs which have same body design or same basic design, but they serve different purposes in different animals, are called homologous organs. And organs which have different basic designs but they serve same function are called analogous organs. So let us see the examples. These figures, they are showing skeleton of 4 limbs of human, bird, lizard and frog, and all of them, they have same basic design. So in human beings, the upper arm bone is humerus, then lower arm bone is called radioulna. Then there are carpals and metacarpals. Similarly, these bones, they are present in the forelimbs of birds, lizards or frogs, but they serve different purposes. In human beings, the forearm is not used for locomotion. Okay, so we use our arms for handling tools, but in case of birds, the forearms, they are modified in wings, so they are a flight adaptation. In lizard and frogs, the forearms are used for locomotion. So they are serving different purposes but have same basic design, and that is why they are called homologous organs. These examples, they show analogous organs. This is the structure skeleton of a bat, and this structure shows the skeleton of bird's wings. So in both the cases, the wings, they help in flight, but in case of a bat, the wings, they are composed of the bones of phalanges, that is metacarpals. In case of birds, all the bones of forearms, they are involved in the structure of formation of wings. So the basic designs, they are different but they serve same purposes, and that is why these are analogous organs. Question 7. Outline a project which aims to find the dominant coat color in dogs. So for this, you need to select a male dog. Let us say the male dog has black coat and the female has white coat. Okay, then let them breed so that the F1 generation can be produced, and let us assume that all dogs in the F1 generation, they have black coat. Okay, so we do not know whether the black color is dominant or recessive from the data of F1 generation. Now let these dogs breed among themselves and see what happens in F2 generation. So let us assume that 75% of the dogs in F2 generation, they have black coat, and 25% of dogs have white coats. This can be vice versa also. So whichever color is in this 75% is dominant color, and whichever color is in this 25% is recessive color. So in this case, in this assumption, I should say the black color is the dominant coat color and white color is the recessive color. Question 8. Explain the importance of fossils in deciding evolutionary relationships. Fossils, they are very useful because many organisms, they no longer exist on this earth. They have become extinct. Okay, so by discovering fossils, we can establish the missing link between two divisions or two phyla. So let us take example of the fossil of Archaeopteryx. It was a reptile and it looked like a bird. So it had certain features of reptiles, like teeth were there, and certain features of birds like beaks and feathers were present. So Archaeopteryx is definitely the missing link between reptiles and birds. So we can definitely say from looking at the fossil of Archaeopteryx that birds, they have evolved from reptiles. Then another concept or another useful factor in studying a fossil is the sediment layers from which a particular fossil has been discovered. So if a fossil comes from the lowest sediment layer, then it shows that that particular animal, it evolved at an earlier period compared to a fossil which has come from an upper sediment layers. So by knowing about the level of sediment, we can say which animal or which organism evolved in which period. So this is the all about importance of fossils in deciding evolutionary relationships. Question 9. What evidence do we have for the origin of life from inanimate matter? The answer is the famous Miller-Urey experiment. This experiment was conducted by two scientists, Miller and Urey, in 1953. These scientists, they created an atmosphere which existed in early Earth, or which is believed to have existed when Earth began its life. So they created an atmosphere which contained ammonia, methane, hydrogen sulfide, but there was no oxygen. And in that atmosphere, the artificial atmosphere, they released electric sparks to provide energy. And after about 15 days, at the end of the experiment, some organic compounds and amino acid and some other organic compounds, they were formed at the end of experiment. And we know that amino acids, they are the building blocks of living beings. Amino acids are important components of proteins. So they could conclusively prove that life had evolved from inanimate matter or inorganic matter, we can say. Question 10. Explain how sexual reproduction gives rise to more valuable variations than asexual reproduction. How does this affect evolution of those organisms that reproduce sexually? In case of sexual reproduction, the gene pool of the organism or offspring is contributed by two individuals. So because genes, they are coming from two different individuals, there is greater scope for various permutations and combinations of genotype in the offspring, and this is not possible in case of asexual reproduction, because in that case the gene pool is coming from one individual only, and because of greater chances of permutation and combination, there are more chances of valuable variations in case of sexual reproduction. And that is why sexual reproduction is more likely to give ignite variation which will ultimately lead to evolution of organisms. Question 11. How is the equal genetic contribution of male and female parents ensured in the progeny? The gametogenesis or formation of gametes, it happens as a result of meiosis. Meiosis is a type of cell division in which number of chromosomes in daughter cell becomes half of the number in mother cells. So what happens? Meiosis results in haploidy, that is halving the number of chromosomes. So the gametes, they will be having half the number of chromosomes compared to the somatic cells. So what happens? When zygote is formed after fertilization, then 50% of the chromosomes, they come from male gametes, and 50% of the chromosomes, they come from female gamete. Okay, so the offspring, it has half the chromosomes from the father and half the chromosomes from mother. Okay, so this shows that there is equal genetic contribution of male and female parents in case of sexual reproduction, and that is how it is ensured. Question 12. Only variations that confer an advantage to an individual organism will survive in a population. Do you agree with this statement? Why or why not? The answer is no, because many examples can be seen in nature where a particular variation is not beneficial at all for the organism. So you can take example of an antelope with big horns, or an example of a peacock with beautiful feathers. The antelopes, they work as a hindrance while the antelope is running through the jungle. Its horns can get entangled in branches which can cause the death of the antelope. In case of a peacock, the beautiful feathers may be an added advantage while doing courtship, while finding a mate, but these feathers, they are handicap for peacocks. A peacock cannot fly because of heavy load of feathers. The peacock can be easily spotted by a predator, and the predator can easily catch the peacock. So these characters, they are not advantageous for these animals. So we cannot say that only variations that confer an advantage to an individual organism will survive in a population. There are many variations which are not advantage at all, but they do survive. That's all for this lesson. Thank you.